Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. We are going into Week 10 of the NFL season. Thursday Night Football is kicking off tonight with the Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers. We got some nice topics to dive into, so let's get it started. First thing on the schedule, we're getting into the grind of the NFL. Injuries are piling up. We got two, I guess I'll say franchise quarterbacks. One I'm not a fan of, but two franchise quarterbacks coming in with injury issues. Kyler Murray with his hamstring, Josh Allen with apparently a damaged UCL joint in his elbow. So what do we think about what's going on with these teams now?
Well, the Bills, they got the Vikings this week, and then, hang on really quick, should have had this up already. The Bills have the Vikings this week, then they're at home against the Vikings, at home against the Browns, and then they're at the Lions. I don't know. It's Sean McDermott came out today and said he's day-to-day, but from what I've heard and watched, and it's what's it, UCL? Yeah. UCL injury. Yep. Apparently that's the same. I guess if that's the same injury to where if it gets bad enough, like players in the MLB need Tommy John for that. And I don't think that's not as big of a deal as it used to be. Is that correct, or is that still a year shut down?
It's about still well, that's the thing. For MLB, I think it's about a year shut down. For quarterback, I don't know if it's the same or longer. I don't think his injury is that severe, but I think the problem is it can get worse. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, Mariota had the same thing happen, and it definitely, you notice a difference.
Well, here's the thing. Josh Allen, one of his biggest talents, obviously, is his arm strength. I think he has the strongest arm in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, any quarterback can get this injury, especially professionals. They're throwing it all year round, especially during the season. You know, they're however many times they're throwing it during practice, hundreds of times throughout the week. And then during the game, 30, 40 times, and you're throwing it hard, especially in the game. It never looks like he puts a ton of – he doesn't look like he needs to put a lot of effort into zipping his throws in, but that doesn't mean he's still not putting –
yeah.
You know what I mean? Now I got lost in my thoughts. But I think they should shut him down for a few weeks. They've already had 2 losses. They lost to the Jets. If they're a good enough team, they might struggle against the Vikings if he doesn't play, but they should be able to beat the Browns and the Lions. I think Case Keenum is their backup, right?
That sounds about right.
And Case Keenum, he's a few years off, well, like 5 years now of having the miraculous season with the Vikings, and he's started and won in this league. I think he was 2-0 last year as a starter for the Browns. So I would just err on the side of caution with Josh Allen. You don't want it to become a bigger deal and play the long game for it's a Super Bowl or bust season for them.
That's true. What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I don't think you want to further damage it to end, like Trevor said, Super Bowl bust, and he's got to last to the playoffs, get to the playoffs, but I think with the team they have, should be just fine against those opponents.
Yeah, I want to say this type of injury where you trust your team doctors to make the right decision, but at the same time, you don't want to, as a coach especially, you don't want to send them out there and then, like you said, Super Bowl or bust, and you push it and, he further damages his elbow and then out for the year. Like, that would be worst case scenario.
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point he hurt his arm or his elbow. I have to think that this is a progressive injury. It's not like if I saw the play where he looked like he was wincing and holding his arm and he didn't get hit or anything. So it has to be obviously it has to be build up and just from repeatedly throwing the ball. Um I don't know if he had 2 interceptions in that game. I don't know if he threw any touchdowns or not. I know he rushed for the 2 touchdowns, so maybe it affected him in the game, which I'm sure it did. So, and now they're going up against a Vikings team that's 7-1. Take that how you want, if they're as good as the record says or not. But still a team that's winning. I don't know. I wouldn't throw him out there. I
definitely
think coaches nowadays are trying to play the I don't know if it's nowadays or if it's always been like that, where they're trying to keep it a secret to have a competitive edge against the team they're going up against. So Sean McDermott saying it's day to day, but every injury is day to day. So I mean, coach is saying that's kind of useless.
and this it's not the same, but look at with Tua earlier this year when he got that concussion that wasn't a concussion, and everyone's like he shouldn't play, even though supposedly the team doctors cleared him to play, and it's like you're tempting fate. And the next game he gets lit up and he missed like what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, that was also, I think, where the team has to protect the player from themselves. I'm sure he wanted to play, and I bet you Josh Allen wants to play this week.
Yeah, we'll see. He's one of, if not the most talented player in the league right now. So, and he's the type of player that, come playoff time, you want to see him, what he could do, see if he can finally get over that Chiefs wall this year. So it'd certainly suck if he gets injured, and we got to wait till next year to see what happens. I am slightly more concerned with Kyler Murray, and it's more so with what's on the line. The Cardinals are in the middle of a struggling year after last year's great season, and then they just fall apart in the end. And then there was hopes that they were gonna kind of have the same thing but build off of last year, and they gave Kyler Murray that big contract, and it hasn't worked out. Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat. The offense hasn't looked right. And now he has a hamstring injury, and we've seen in the past with especially these elite level athletes, you tweak your hammy, and then you can probably go the whole season with it lingering, but you're constantly going to be at risk with it acting up. And his mobility is really one of his best things. So if he's not able to dance around the pocket and make plays, he's going to be a pocket passer. He's still capable of it, but it's he's not going to be the same Kyler Murray, and the same healthy Kyler Murray hasn't even been that good this year.
Yes, you look like you had something you were itching to say, RJ. Oh, I was going to say, I think you both said it, or Taylor, you probably had a stronger opinion about it during the off season when we previewed the Cardinal season about the Kyler Murray's the wear and tear. I don't remember exactly what your stance was, but something along the lines of you don't trust his ability
He's just repetitively shown that his body cannot hold up through an entire season, and here we are midway through the season.
They start to lose.
Yeah, and then usually they start to lose, but they've already built themselves a nice little cushion. This year they're already in the hole, and here it is, midway point of the year, and what do you know? He has minor injuries that are coming up.
Well, the thing that's funny is the last 4 weeks, he's taken way more sacks and he's running the ball a lot more. He had one game earlier in the season where he ran the ball 12 times, but other than that, 5 rush attempts, 2, and then 4. The last 4 weeks, it's 10, 7, 6, 8, and he's been sacked 6, 2, 4, 5 times. Before that, he was never sacked more than once or twice in a game. So Is he running around a little bit more? And that caused the hammy to get tight. Has he had hamstring injuries in the past?
I can't go off
Or is it
memory.
just soft tissue
He
stuff?
just it's like
He always gets
yeah,
banged
he
up with
just
something.
always has something.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like you said, they're already in the hole this year. Last year they're the last undefeated team, and Hopkins went down and Murray got banged up, so it went down from there. This year's just been a mess already, so I don't know if I don't know. I didn't think they had much to I didn't have high hopes for them the rest of the season anyway. So Kyler Murray, if he's out for a few games, whatever. I mean, it sucks for them. They gave him all that money, and it's not turning out very well
I
right
think
now.
Cliff
As
Kingsbury
a
is
whole
going to get
team.
fired.
Yeah, he
I
practiced
wouldn't doubt
today.
it.
Went some jogging and did some throwing drills. So we'll see.
Those hamstrings are testy. They'll snap at you when you least expect it. Maybe in drills, maybe after your first streak route, right when you
Right after you
right when
stretched
you
out
least
for an
expect
hour.
Poor
On to the
Kyler.
next.
All right. Moving on, we discussed the last episode. It's getting to that point. Injuries are going to start adding up across the league. It's a very physical, violent game. It is what it is. Moving on, the Colts finally announced the much anticipated firing of Frank Reich after the disappointing season.
Much anticipated.
Yeah,
I was anticipating it.
Sounds like we got a
Mid-season.
Titans
Well,
fan
listen,
over here
listen.
hoping for other coaches.
Colts
to be fired.
fans that I know personally had been saying since the end of last year they wanted him fired.
I think it's hilarious that you know Colts fans.
My boss is a Colts fan.
I don't think I know any Colts fans in the area.
I know a couple.
But I'm a train of thought. Okay, the Matt Ryan project was a fail. Their supposedly top 5 O-line completely fell apart. Jonathan Taylor's banged up. They can't blame that on the coach. But they were a dark horse Super Bowl team coming in, and they started the season off with that tie against the Texans. Get beat by the Jaguars, get swept by the Titans early in the year, and now Frank's gone. Oh, and preceding his firing, they dumped the offensive coordinator to try and see if that works. And the following week, they come out and they can only muster 3 points against the Patriots. So it's kind of like, well, you said the offensive coordinator was the issue, but it got worse after you fired him. So Irsay finally cut the strings.
I don't know that much about Irsay recently. I feel like I heard about him in the news more often back in the Peyton Manning days, especially near the end of Peyton Manning's career there. True, but I get the Jerry Jones vibe from Irsay. He likes to be heavily involved throughout the season. I feel like, some owners take a step back. Some are like a general, like Jerry Jones is like GM Jerry Jones, and he's talking to reporters constantly. Irsay, maybe not as much or to that extent, but I still get those vibes from him. So I'm curious how much of some of the weird decisions this year from Frank Reich, or are they pushed down from somebody higher up? Like you said, Jonathan Taylor's injury is not his fault, but they had him lead blocking with a sprained ankle, and apparently he came back. He had a high ankle sprain, and he came back like the next week or something, which is kind of odd. And then having him lead block is just, what are you doing?
It's an element of surprise.
And then, I mean, Matt Ryan wasn't playing well, but he had one good game, and they
beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, they were 3-2-1, and then they're like, okay, you're done, Matt.
He was leading the league in turnovers.
He did have a shoulder issue.
He was, but I mean, at least they were still their offense. He was leading them in turnovers, but their offense was finding a little bit of continuity. I mean, the worst thing you can do there is be like, yank your quarterback out and then put in a quarterback who's never. I didn't know who
And then
Most
we'll go to
quarterbacks.
Texas. Like RJ said, Matt Ryan got hurt because he was getting sacked so much, and then they did add insult to injury, saying regardless of Matt Ryan's injury, we were going to bench him for the rest of the season, which I thought that was a little unnecessary. But
yeah, agreed. It was very odd.
But I mean, I don't think anyone's shocked about the firing. What did surprise people was that they announced that Jeff Saturday is going to be the interim head coach. Jeff Saturday, who last time he coached was in like 2020 for a high school team, and they went 3-7.
Well, he was pretty fired up in that interview.
He's a pretty emotional guy.
He's a football player, so of course he's gonna have that chip on his shoulder and think he can do it and think he's got the right guts and character to be a leader of men. But I think it's also fair for people to question your coaching ability because you don't have any, like, yeah, sure, you were center for the best coach on the field of all time in Peyton Manning. So maybe he thinks he's got the juice in the brain.
Not to cut you off, but
that's what he said.
What if Jeff Saturday goes through the interim head coach all this season? They don't do that well. They come out next year and they announce Peyton Manning's the offensive coordinator.
That would be funny. I have a feeling that Peyton Manning's probably like a terrible coach, and I think he's said that before.
Yeah, because he'll be like, the X was wide open on the 8 route. Why didn't you see it? And the quarterback be like, the pressure. And he's like, I saw it before the ball was even hiked. What are you talking about? And the quarterback like, I'm sorry, I'm not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I'm not you, Peyton. Okay, I'm not you.
Yeah,
and Eli's just sitting back. No one's doing this.
I mean, it'll be funny if they start winning games just Saturday and they just needed a little bit of mojo leading the team. Sometimes that's all it takes. I don't think that's going to be the case for the Colts. And it's obviously an audition for Jeff Saturday, I'm assuming.
I've had a change of heart with this topic over the years. In my younger years, I used to always think that your head coach had to come in with a top pedigree offensive or defensive coordinator background. It had to be X's and O's guys. That's how it always felt. And then now, seeing how things worked out, I think above all else, you need your head coach to be just a leader that's going to really just steer the ship in the right direction. Like a John Harbaugh, Tomlin, Vrabel now, Rivera when he was with the Panthers. Because if you look at X and O's coaches, and it's not even fair to bring up these names, but it's like Andy Reid and Bill Belichick, and they're like two of the best coaches of all time. And even they, defer a lot of play calling to their staff. So yeah, I think Saturday could fill that leadership role, and maybe he can get the season turned around. But
only time will tell.
Exactly. While we're on the topic,
puts on a helmet and runs out there, give me the dang ball.
58's the mic. 58's the mic. No.
Don't get ornery.
Hot route.
Waterboard. He's shaking his like hot route. The quarterback Sam Ellinger is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course, as soon as the hiring was announced, the first things I was seeing pop up on my my notifications was, this is one of the main issues with the NFL coaching tree or whatever. They're like a white guy with barely any coaching experience gets a head coaching position. And this is my immediate take on it. When's the last time an interim coach kept a job at the end of the year?
Rarely have you seen it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think the season's over for the Colts. I think that it's very obvious they're going to clean house. Preferably get a high draft pick. You can bring in a rookie quarterback, fix the O-line, run the ball to Jonathan Taylor. They can do a quick turnaround. The way I see it, Irsay was like, season's done. I just need to get through the rest of this year. I don't have any more headaches. Calls up his good buddy, Jeff Saturday, that he's known for
20 years.
15, 20 years now, and said, hey, I trust you. You're not doing too much right now. Just, I need you to come coach this team for 8 more weeks. And
hey, he was a decent analyst on ESPN.
That's what he's been doing. Yeah, he lost a bunch of weight after he retired too. Got in good shape.
Yeah, but it's not like
it was definitely random to see the notification. It's like, what? I mean, think about him as a candidate, you know.
But
you assume it would come from somebody within.
Yeah,
because now
they've had time to interview outside hires.
Well, I think the other issue,
I'm sure,
because who's the Colts defensive coordinator?
I don't know his name off the top of my head.
You'll know it when I say it.
It's in my notebook somewhere. Page.
Gus Bradley.
Okay, Gus Bradley. He's been a head coach. He's a good defensive coordinator. I imagine they probably talked to Gus, and he said he wasn't interested. And that's when they were like, we'll go to Jeff.
I don't know. That'd be tough for the coach to say that.
No.
Now if he wants to be a head coach somewhere
because
else,
it's
like, you didn't want our job.
Because
he's not committed.
Because interim head coaches, they don't keep they just never keep the job. And I'm pretty sure with the NFL rules and everything, it'll be easier for him to jump to a head coaching job with another team if he's coming from a defensive coordinator position.
They're literally dissolvable Band-Aids. That's all interim coaches are. It's temporary. Slap on it.
Yeah.
Well,
fix the
so
breach.
Long, Jeff Saturday, your career won't last long then.
Unless they go 8-0.
We'll find out.
All of a sudden, Peyton Manning's back.
Never stood a chance.
They announced Peyton Manning as their starting quarterback.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was the shocker of the week. Irsay, like you said, Trevor, he's a bit of a wild card, and who knows? Maybe he's back on the drugs. I don't know. But he's filthy rich and he's the owner, so he gets to do whatever he wants. Next topic: there's a little bit of bad blood between the old buddies Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. In an interview a couple days ago, recently, Pete Carroll said how they were like, what do you think is helping the offense and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, well, one of the things is, Geno Smith is wearing the quarterback coaching the coaching wristband, and that makes the offensive play calling real smooth and keeps him and the coaches on the same page. And then he, of course, had to drop in. We had some quarterbacks in the past that resisted the idea, and everyone's like, "Well, Russell Wilson was your quarterback for 10 years, and he only missed 2 games." So, and then Russell Wilson, of course, had to, shoot back and was like, "Well,
hey, get on his horse."
He was like, "Well, I can't remember what he said, but he said something along the lines of we won a lot of games together without it," and he even said there were a few games where I did wear it, blah, blah, blah.
He said, I don't know exactly what he said, which he does, but we won a lot of games without one on the wrist. I didn't know winning or losing matter, whether you wore a wristband or not, but I think do whatever it takes to make sure that we're
what if on that
a few times I've definitely worn a wristband, though.
What if on that Super Bowl call, Pete Carroll's on the sideline yelling bingo 35, bingo 35, and Russell Wilson's like, yeah, pick route, guys, pick route, right? And then Pete Carroll's like, no, we called a halfback dive. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I didn't get the play right.
That's what happened in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, a little off topic because we're talking about their drama, but as far as those wristbands go, as a younger fan, I always thought that the wristbands were for the less elite quarterbacks. The more elite quarterbacks didn't didn't need it. They knew all the
Yeah.
plays. But I mean, it really is for. It's not for. I mean, maybe it is for some quarterbacks to help with memory, but I'm pretty sure the wristbands have like it's to save time, and it does make it smoother and faster because the offensive coordinator who's relaying it to the quarterback will be like play 2. So then the quarterback can just look at play 2, see what the play is. Then he doesn't have to. Then he'll read off the play. So there's not the offensive coordinator taking 30 seconds to say the play. Him saying it again.
Tom Brady I think has always worn one to this day. We use them with my team, and I will say there's been plenty of games where we get to the field and we realize we forgot the quarterback band, and it might only be like 4 times a game where there's a communication issue and the play call gets wrong. But those could be the 4 plays that
times too many.
Yeah, that could be the 4 plays that ruin the game. So it does make a difference when I can just yell out something and the quarterback can just be like, "Oh, all right, this is a play, guys," and he's in the huddle, just tells the team. Whereas I have to be like, "Hey, this is a play," and then the kid runs over, and then has to go off of memory, tell it to the whole team. So I get.
That's what I wonder too. Is it a quarterback pride thing? Because the fact is, if it's just purely to smooth things out and make it go quicker, as a coach, I'd be like, wear the damn wristband.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's no reason not to at that point. But then it's got to be like a, quarterback ego. Like, imagine Aaron Rodgers. There's no way he wears a wristband. Imagine the coach going up to you. Just try it out once, Aaron. He's like, no.
How dare you?
So now I'm imagining Russell Wilson as the girl from Holes. He's like, I don't want to wear the wristband anymore, Grandpa. And Pete Carroll's like, well, that's too damn bad. Wear the wristband.
Yeah,
Jeez. But to be that role too.
I didn't get the heart of it. It's literally a veteran NFL quarterback and then a 75-year-old NFL head coach just being super petty over.
They've been doing it all,
but over coaching, over the coaching wristband of all things.
It's just, I don't know. I think it's funny, kind of, from Pete Carroll, and then Russell Wilson just has to deal with it.
It's just like,
because apparently everybody's on the side of the Seahawks. Apparently, Russell Wilson was an.
But of all things, like if Pete Carroll wanted to, like,
he looks like
if Pete Carroll wanted to take a shot at Russell Wilson, he'd be like, "We got Geno Smith, and look at our record. Look at them over in Denver." But instead, he goes, "No, our quarterback likes to wear."
It's too obvious.
This was obvious too. It's just.
It was obvious, but without, he's not directly.
We had issues in the past with quarterbacks not wanting to wear it. It's like, who are you? Who could he be talking about? It's not like if the Browns said that, we had quarterbacks in the past, and you'd be like, oh, well, it's one of these 50 different quarterbacks. But I mean, hey, the NFL is all about drama, and if they have a story to cover, they're certainly going to cover it. So yeah.
Jeez. That's us now.
News is news.
We gotta cover that story.
Note to self, don't fall for the drama. All right. So, do you guys want to take the next segment to do our midseason NFL awards ceremony?
Midseason awards. Midseason awards.
Too bad. We're going to a different topic.
Awards.
I'm just kidding. Midseason awards. So yeah, we're basically at the half point. We're at the half point of the season, depending on if your team had a bye or not. But for the most part, everyone's had enough games to establish themselves. We have a really good vibe for people. So yeah, we're starting to get started with the midseason awards. Let's see. Let's start. We'll just go right down the list. MVP, most valuable player of the NFL. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it. I always go first.
Oh, who do you got?
This was a tough decision. and I'm just gonna go with the biased pick because I'll split, and we're not professionals here, so I'm allowed to do this. I'm going with Jalen Hurts.
Bandwagon.
Homer pick, if anything.
I know.
Not bandwagon.
I was messing with you.
Yes. Jalen, I don't think he's going to win it, but the Eagles are undefeated. He's the quarterback. He's the most valuable player. Right now, he's the most valuable player on the best team in the NFL. So I say he's the MVP. I know there's more that goes into it. There's statistics. His statistics are pretty good. He's got 12 throwing touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. He had 1 fumble. The fumble and the interception, one of the interceptions were not his fault because it was miscommunication on the snap, and half the players weren't running when he got sacked for the fumble. And then the interception, one of them went off of Gainwell's hands. And then the second interception was a poor read and throw. It was pouring down rain against Jacksonville. Not here to make excuses, but he's done well not turning the ball over. The argument I've heard people make with his throwing touchdowns, he's like, I just hear it all the time. Well, he only has 12 throwing touchdowns. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. So that's 18 total touchdowns. That goes up against all the other top quarterbacks in the league. I think Patrick Mahomes has 22 total touchdowns. It's only 4 less. And Jalen Hurts has 3 turnovers on the year versus these other top quarterbacks have 6, 8 interceptions. They're all up there in turnovers.
That's fair.
Jalen Hurts he has 2,100 yards passing. He also has, I think, around, let me just fact check this really quick. I think he has around 300 yards rushing. He has 326 yards rushing. So he has about 2,400 total yards on the year. So statistically, when you combine, does it really matter how you get the yards and the touchdowns? You know, whether
Lamar won MVP with the rushing year.
True.
Well, yeah, that was a freak year too because he threw for 38 touchdowns too, or whatever it was. But he's up there with yards, passer. I think he's top 10 in yards, passer rating, touchdowns, QBR. If you like to go off of QBR, all the important stuff, and best team record wise.
Yeah.
Best player on the best
Make
team.
a tough argument, and I can't really say much against it.
Not much. You don't have to agree or disagree.
No, all I'll say, and I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a great fit for the team, and they're undefeated for a reason. He's a big part of it.
Anything you're gonna say after this?
No, I was going to say that, but the Eagles, have a stacked roster.
Not his fault.
No, exactly. It's not his fault. Like, you're on the team you're on. Like, but yeah.
Same offense as last year, except for AJ Brown.
Still a good offense though. AJ Brown's also a monster. RJ,
but he's a monster because
RJ, who do you have for your MVP?
Yeah. Go with Patty Mahomes.
Patty Mahomes.
Bandwagon.
I'm not a fan.
Look at all his Chiefs gear in the back.
But,
look at that red and white. It's clearly Chiefs jerseys.
Get out of here.
Is that
Jalen Hurts?
The Red's too bright.
Patrick Mahomes gets off the bed. What? Oh my god.
Yeah, no. He loses his best player, best offensive weapon, still doing the damn thing. He's just arguably the best quarterback in the league. Without him, the Chiefs would be nothing. And I still think they're nothing. But
you ain't bad.
You ain't nothing. Watched the last 5 years. Well, this is year 5 for him.
Yeah.
Cool. It's ridiculous some of the throws he makes. Well, jaw dropping. Travis Kelce, him too, gets a little honorable mention. I think maybe if he loses him, he might lose a little
honorable
bit of juice.
mention for MVP.
No, just like for his if he gets the award, he has to thank Travis Kelce for giving this award.
Gotcha.
Like, they know MVP of a game, 4 touchdowns, 25 yards. So weird. But yeah, regrettably, Mahomes.
All right, so
should have picked somebody else. Jeez.
Nah, I had to do it.
I'm in agreement with RJ. I went with Patrick Mahomes. Might be a little
Bandwagon.
recency bias, but if you look at his numbers, he has 2,600 pass yards. He's averaging basically 8 yards an attempt, 66 completion percentage, leads the league with 21 passing touchdowns. He has 103 quarterback rating. He's throwing for a first down on 41% of his throws. He's spreading the ball around more than he ever has. And, you know, I was looking at players because I didn't want to go with, like, because, like, I do hate the notion with the NFL where it's like, well, the MVP should be just best statistical quarterback because that's what it is every year. And if you look around the league, like Tyreek Hill is having an insane year. But I'll just being realistic. Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown, had arguably the greatest receiver season in NFL history, and he still didn't win MVP last year. So right now, I'm just going with Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen, he's looking good, but now he has his injury issue. Statistically, Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa.
I think it's a 3-man race.
Who's your 3?
Mm-hmm. I think right now it's a 3-man race between. I'm gonna exclude Josh Allen because they've lost recently. He got injured and he didn't play that well. But I'm gonna assume he's gonna miss a few games, so I'm just taking him out of the race. Right now, I'm gonna say it's Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Tua?
Lamar Jackson, if his stats were a little bit more staggering, he would probably be runaway because he's literally running their offense. And if they hadn't blown a few of those leads and he had thrown a few more touchdowns here and there and less picks, he would probably be running away with MVP right now.
I think
I think it's those three.
I think my issue,
and to your point,
Tua's on the bubble.
Tua is on the bubble. Yes,
games.
I agree.
I think,
but to your point,
sorry, go ahead. No,
go ahead. I'll take it. You were gonna say you were mentioning it's a quarterback's award. I think it has to be at this point. Like offensive player of the year, give that to the best player, the best non-quarterback. No matter what anybody says, maybe not physically, but quarterback's got to be. It's the hardest position on the field. You're distributing the ball to the team. You're making reads. You're calling the plays. You're literally the coach on the field. You are the most important player on the field. Even if your team's amazing around you, you still have to be like, you can't go out there and have a quarterback throw 0 touchdowns and 20 interceptions with an amazing team and still win. They still have to be a good game manager. So I just think the quarterback position, the reason why, like last year you mentioned Cooper Kupp had the Triple Crown. Aaron Rodgers had an amazing year last year, and I just think if you put an amazing quarterback year versus amazing anything else, it has to go to the quarterback.
Well, look how bad he looks without.
Have offensive.
Look how bad Rodgers looks without his amazing wide receiver.
Well, Cooper Kupp wasn't doing that much without Matthew Stafford.
He was
bad the year before, actually.
Not to get hung up on this, but because you brought up Lamar Jackson as your third, I think my issue, and I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying I'm wrong either. My issue with Lamar Jackson is
what are you
still it's just something I've noticed.
Cut the show.
It happens every game. Like there's like a couple plays where he just completely misses. Like he's not under pressure. It's not a tight window. And he just completely misses a pass. And I know you're like, look at his numbers. Like he obviously doesn't make that big of a difference. But for me, it's just if we're going to be comparing these quarterbacks and whatnot, like I'll be honest, I remember more so the bad plays and like their amazing plays. And when I'm going through my head, going by the eyeball test and my, my vault in my brain, I'm like, again, I'm not saying this. I'm not holding this against him or saying I'm right or whatnot, but
sounds like you're holding it against him.
I mean, his numbers
You're not
are
giving him the
ridiculous.
MVP.
It's just, it is what it is. But this is not this.
I mean, he's still. No, we're not going on yet. I want to rebuttal that. We've talked about it on the show before. I do critique his throwing, and that he still annoys me. I watch all the Ravens games because our wives are Ravens fans. He still does weird sidearm throws and doesn't step into throws when he's in a clean pocket. He still does have a 62 completion percentage, and he still does put up crazy stats. While he does make those errant throws that annoy you sometimes, I still think, since he is the reason why the Ravens are winning and still putting up the stats regardless, you have to, if it continues, he's in the conversation.
Noted. Moving on. Excuse me. Offensive Player of the Year. We'll keep the order, so it is to you, Sasquatch.
This is probably a not as popular pick, but I'm going with Derrick Henry. King Henry the First of his name and the first of his house. Yes. He's leading the league. Listen, I read articles all offseason about Derrick Henry's not going to be the same because he's getting to that age, and he had the foot injury last year and all this other stupid stuff. He would have had 2,000 yards last year and would have been in the MVP running if he hadn't gotten injured last year. This year, quietly, is putting up near the same statistics. Outside of the first few weeks when the Titans were just off for some reason, they lost the first 2 weeks and they weren't running the ball particularly well. Since then, he's pretty much been on a tear. And especially since Tannehill's been injured and Malik Willis is playing, they're running the ball. And you still can't stop Derrick Henry. He breaks tackles. He breaks away from the defense. Long touchdowns. He can grind it out, make the defense sweat. He's got 9 touchdowns on the year. He's got 40 first down runs, which I think is top 5. So he's top 5 in first downs gained rushing the ball. He's second in touchdowns with 10, only one behind Nick Chubb. And then he's leading the league in rushing, and that's off of 2. I think the first 2 weeks he barely had any. Well, he had 82 yards in week 1, but he had 25 yards in week 2. But mostly I just think because the quarterback play for the Titans has been subpar, offensive line, Taylor, you spoke on that to me, that it's not particularly great. And then their receivers haven't done anything, and that was highlighted against the Chiefs. 0 catches for the wide receivers, correct?
And the Chiefs game, yeah.
And Derrick Henry's still running over people, and he's still unstoppable. So I think that has to be just from similar to the Lamar argument. He's carrying a team on the offensive side of the ball. So and he has the statistics to back it up.
Fair evaluation. RJ, who do you got?
I'm going with Tyreek Hill.
Interesting.
Yeah, leads the league in yards, 1,104, 122 yards per game. See what the Dolphins are doing. And Jalen Waddle
220 yards per game?
It's 122 yards.
Oh,
122 yards. Actually, 122.7. But even with Jalen Waddle, too, being like 4th, I think he's like 4th, 3rd in yards, Tyreek Hill is still dominating away from his home, Kansas City, with his homeboy, Mahomes. And he's fun to watch still. He's the fastest player in the league, obviously. He hasn't got a lot of touchdowns, but getting a lot of first downs, which is leading to all these Dolphins victories.
Yeah, and it's one of those things also, I think one thing he has going for him is he's currently on pace to be the first person ever to get 2,000 receiving yards in a year. Granted, he's going to have the extra week. But it does seem like these voters at the end of the year, they like a story, they like something new. So I think if he does hit the 2,000 yards receiving, he's basically a lock for the award. And even with what many people, myself included, say is playing with a noodle arm quarterback, and he's still continuing to make big plays.
Tua's been playing well this year. I was considering Tyreek Hill as well, but I gave the edge to Derrick Henry just because Waddle has, not taking anything away from him, but I think he's not Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Waddle's playing really well this year, as you mentioned. He has top 5 in receiving yards or whatever it is, and Tua's having a really good year. So that's why I give the slight edge to Derrick Henry, but I do like the Hill pick. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets it.
Moving on.
Whoa! What's your pick?
That's moving on to my pick.
Oh, well, you said moving on, like next topic.
I am agreeing with Big Sass. I'm going with Derrick Henry for my offensive player of the year.
Bandwagon.
Listen, he's the king for a reason. He's leading the league in rushing, and it's the first half of the year. We haven't even got to the cold chill of D. Hember yet. But look, he has 870 yards rushing. He has 9 touchdowns. He has accounted for, I think, 48% of the Titans' offense, which that would be the most a single player has accounted for in the last. I think it's like last 4 or 5 years. I am a Titans fan, so I do, I do know what I'm talking about. I'm not being a homer. The Titans O-line is awful. Derrick Henry, I think he's at, just to put into perspective, and I'm ballparking these numbers, but they are basically right. I think Derrick Henry is averaging like 1.8 yards before contact. And then like Nick Chubb, for instance, is averaging like almost a full yard more before contact. And just so people know, a yard's 3 feet. Anyone who's played football knows 3 feet's a lot of space.
2.1 yards before contact.
For who?
Derrick Henry.
I could go going off
500 yards after contact.
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
Well, there was a time
Henry just took that back.
There was a time like at week 4 or 5 where Derrick Henry had more yards after contact than he had total rushing yards. Also, Derrick Henry has faced a stack box.
3 yards for Nick Chubb.
Oh, so I was still basically right. It was a yard difference.
Yes.
Which goes to show Nick Chubb has a fairly dominant O-line. Chris Johnson. Derrick Henry plays behind a bad O-line. Also, Derrick Henry has faced more stacked boxes than any total team this year. And he's faced 100 more stacked boxes than the next running back. 100 more stacked boxes.
Still doesn't work.
Someone did post as probably a Nick Chubb fan, and he was like, "Well, it's actually easier to run on a stacked box because once you make one guy miss, there's no one to get you." And I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "You sound like someone who's never played football."
You got to get through the next level.
And then Henry is one of 2 players, the other being Tyreek Hill, to have 1,000 total yards already. And another thing, if you look at the Titans' schedule, he does face a pretty large amount of poor run defenses in the second half. And if he averages 120 yards a game for the second half, which is just a little bit over what he's averaging now, he will be the first player in league history to rush for 2,000 yards twice.
Man, he could have had a three-peat on him.
Could have. And then lastly, and this is a little bit of my homerism coming out, but the
Mahomerism?
my homerism, but the Titans offensive play caller sucks. And so it hurts Henry. 1 second. And it seems like I don't watch every game, so other running backs would have this be in the same case. It seems like Henry has had several long runs called back due to penalties this year, enough to where I bring it up like once a game. So he could be putting up even better numbers, but that's my offensive player of the year. Next up, defensive player of the year. Bum, bum, bum. Trevor, who you got?
I'm going to go. This was a tough decision. There's a couple players out there that, are putting up good stats. One particular player who's good, and I'm not a really big fan of the team or him, so I'm not going to pick him. But I'm going with Nick Bosa for Defensive Player of the Year.
Fair. Does he have a nickname?
He's
Bandwagon.
Joey Bosa. I don't know.
Joey Bosa's buddy?
Yeah, I know it's a joke.
I'm gonna look that up.
Nick Bosa's second in the league in sacks with 8.5. Second in the league in quarterback pressures with 27. He is tied for third in the league with quarterback knockdowns. He's fourth in the league with quarterback hurries. And this is all with a San Francisco defense that I should have looked this up beforehand. I'm pretty sure they don't blitz that often. Are they a blitz heavy team? I don't think so.
I think they're probably about middle of the pack, but they're not a blitz heavy team.
Yeah. San Francisco's defense is arguably the best defense in the league. They're first in yards allowed, 6 in points allowed. They're top 10 in passing defense. They're top 10 in rushing defense. So across the board, best player on one of the best defenses in the league.
You know what his nickname is?
Do I know?
Do you want to know what it is?
Sure, I picked him as MVP. I should know everything.
Smaller Bear.
So, Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa's nickname is apparently Bigger Bear, and Nick Bosa's nickname is Smaller Bear.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Whoever thought of that should be fired. And if they thought about that themselves, I'm retracting my pick.
But are they brother bear together?
Yeah, that's a fair. He's been an elite level pass rusher since he came into the league. He is a straight technician on the edge, and I think the only thing that's been holding him back from putting up truly elite numbers is some injuries here and there.
I would like to see him add some forced fumbles. He doesn't have any this year. I think overall that will hold him back from getting the award possibly. So add a few more of those game-changing plays, please.
All right, moving on. RJ, who's your defensive player of the year?
So far, it's Matthew Judon.
Matthew Judon. Homer.
Leads the league in sacks on another arguable best defense in the league. Especially fantasy-wise. Patriots put up over 20 points twice.
Must be nice.
Love to see it. Yeah. He's just dominating pretty much the sack game, like you said earlier. Yeah, this is so far. It's only halfway through the season. Nick Bosa could easily be, the guy by the end. I think TJ Watt would have been a fair bet as well if he would stay healthy throughout the season. You see how the Steelers are when he doesn't play versus when he does play. But for now, yeah, going. Oh, hold on.
Alrighty. So I am in agreement with you. I picked Matt Judon. Lead the league in sacks. But if you look at it, Patriots are having a really good defensive year, as pretty much as usual with Bill Belichick. But it is sort of a no-name defense. He is one of the stars of the team, but he's got 11 and a half sacks on the year, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble. If you look at his game breakdown, he's basically had a sack in all but 2 games, and he's come on strong. Basically, he's good for a sack, but when he plays against a lesser O line, he definitely brings it. He has 2.5 against the Bears, and he got 3 against the Colts. But in the games, if you watch the film, he's just coming straight off to the edge. And he had his best year last year, first year with the Patriots, and he had 12 and a half sacks, and he's already 1 sack away from that total. The Patriots, Patriots haven't had a bye, so he's already played 9 games. But I mean, if he keeps up this pace, he'll be at 20 sacks. So he's having a good year. I think just as of right now, as it stands, he's my defensive player of the year. I was looking at some.
As it stands,
I was looking at some other names, and there are a lot of players having great years. Chris Jones is having a good year. Jeffrey Simmons is having a good year. Honestly, for a while, the 49ers safety, whose name I cannot remember right now, until he got hurt, he might have been my pick. A lot of players are playing well. I know you can make an argument for Micah Parsons, but our show is not super friendly to Cowboys. But it's our show, so we can do what we want. So we got 1 vote for Nick Bosa and 2 votes for Matt Judon. We're going to keep the show going, so we're going to go to our comeback player of the year.
He was the best. This one, I also think this is a controversial one, and I'll say it after you guys go. But my pick is Christian McCaffrey.
Boo!
Boo! Yeah. My other pick that I kind of thought about going for was Saquon Barkley because he's pretty much been running the show with New York, but it was kind of a 50-50 toss. I just picked Christian McCaffrey because he's having a good year, and now he looks like he might be. He's really been going on for the last few weeks, and I think
throw a touchdown pass and everyone loves 49ers.
Well, he's gotten over 100 scrimmage yards in every game this year, except for week 1, and his week 1 he didn't get over 100, and then his first game with San Francisco he didn't get over 100. Every other game this year he's had over 100 scrimmage yards, and that was with a garbage Panthers team with a pathetic Baker Mayfield, and you got bench for PJ Walker pretty much. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. Is that it? 3 rushing touchdowns, and
those are rookie numbers, bro.
It's not terrible. And 2 receiving touchdowns. He is second in the league as far as running backs go in receiving yards and receptions. The only other player ahead of him is Austin Eckler. I just think he was coming off of 2 years where he was injured. He played 3 games in 2020, 7 games in 2021. He was kind of getting that injury-prone tag, and also he's 26. Is he getting to that running back age where they hit a wall? But this year he's already surpassed the last 2 previous years in terms of rushing yards with 525, and he already has more receptions with 43 this year, surpassing the last 2 years, and he has 356 receiving yards, which also surpasses the last 2 previous years. So worthy of the comeback label, in my opinion. Two down years as far as injuries go and statistics, and coming back in a big way.
I don't know where you're getting your statistics.
Statistics.
All right, that's fair.
Very fair.
I mean, I'm happy for him. He dealt with injuries and dealt with that terrible franchise. But there's more than one host on the show. So, RJ, who's your comeback player of the year?
Geno Smith.
Nice.
Everybody wrote him off, including us, to a certain extent. Obviously, we keep the door open.
Speak for yourself.
Come back in the NFL. Poo-poo on you. And he's just killing it. I mean, nobody expected the Seahawks to be having a winning record at this point. He even beat the Giants, who have been hot as of recent. But Geno has 15 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks. Still league leading 73 completion percentage. Thrown for 2,100 yards. It's awesome to see. I hope his jaw's feeling better after all these years too.
It's messed up, man.
Yeah. So I'll just say it. I picked Geno Smith as well. If you look at the definition of comeback player of the year, it says refers to awards given to NFL players who have shown perseverance and overcoming adversity in the form of not being in the NFL the previous year, a severe injury, or simply poor play. And if you look at Geno's career...
Screw you, man. You looked into these stats because you knew what my argument is. I'm standing by it.
If you look at he got drafted in 2013 with what some would say lofty expectations coming out of West Virginia in that high-powered offense. His first 2 years with the Jets, he went, as far as touchdowns and interceptions, 12 and 20 to 21, 13 to 13. Since 2014, he has not completed more than 90 passes, and that's from 6 years, basically, as a spot starter on the Jets, Giants, Chargers, and Seahawks. This year is his first real chance as a starter. He's been putting up good numbers. He has 107 quarterback rating. He is, of course, I don't have the number. He's flirting with breaking the completion percentage record. And he's leading the Seahawks team that basically everyone had written off at the beginning of the year to a potential division win. I rest my case.
Couldn't agree more.
I was waiting for a rebuttal.
Okay, I didn't know that comeback player of the year entitled, or what's the word? Whatever, said those things. So any argument comes off as stupid if I try, but I still think that if you want to give Geno Smith an award, or a player such as Geno Smith, an example like Geno Smith, then the NFL should have a most improved player, because what is he coming back from?
Poor performance.
Back from poop. That's not comeback.
It's in the definition.
What is the definition of come back? You were already there and you're back. He's not coming back from anything.
Is he a has been or never was?
Don't get into that funny business, buddy. He never was there. You're not coming back from anything. I think he's having a great year. We didn't mention him in MVP candidates. He probably should be up there. As you mentioned, the completion percentage is ridiculous.
So you think he should be up in MVP, but you don't think he's comeback player of the year?
No, different. That's different. I think comeback player of the year It's for somebody who's coming back from something.
Is it
last
his
year,
fault?
Joe Burrow,
Is it his fault
failure.
that some players have vitamin deficiencies and poor muscle structure?
I mean, Geno Smith's got a bad jaw. Joe Burrow.
I already used that joke.
Yeah, he did. Joe Burrow was the comeback player last year. He had an amazing year coming back from, an injury.
What's harder to come back from an ACL injury or being labeled as a bust?
Yeah, it's also
players come back
he couldn't do anything. What?
Did he boot himself from the show? Show must go on.
No.
Show must go on. Listen, players come back from ACL and ankle injuries every year. How many players get labeled a bust and are able to turn it around and save their career? Very few.
Yeah, it's the first time able to start.
Welcome back to the show.
That. He's making a comeback.
Did you guys? This is treason and blaspheming. I just got booted in the middle of my argument. This is
clearly the program.
This is a mutiny. I'm not even going to continue my argument. I think the NFL should have a most improved player. The NBA has it. I think other leagues have it. I just, by the letter of the law, I guess the comeback player of the year rule does include improved players. But, go down the line. Joe Burrow, Alex Smith coming back from the devastating injury. Ryan Tannehill, Andrew Luck, Keenan Allen, Jordy Nelson.
Ryan Tannehill.
Hang on, let me look at his stats. They probably messed it up that year. No, we're not moving on from this topic.
We have other players to talk about.
You're right. Hang on. 2 seconds. 2019, huh? 2019.
So he turned his career around.
All right. Okay. He came back. 2013 to 2015 with Miami were better years than he had in 2019.
2019,
he threw less picks.
He only played 8 games.
You're right. Okay, he had a better year. But he was there. He had 24, 27, 24 touchdowns with Miami. Geno Smith never did anything like that.
So it's an even better story. Court's adjourned.
Most improved player of the year, Geno Smith.
All right. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who do we got for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Why don't you pull out the book and read what it stands for?
Offensive Rookie of the Year is the award given.
No.
Cheese and rice.
I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker on this one. He is... I've lost my space. Give me a second to pull this up to make sure I have it referenced correctly. He has 570 yards rushing on the year. 7 touchdowns with a 5.1 yards per carry. He's only started 4 games, and pretty sure he was dealing with an injury the first few games of the year.
Yeah.
So just based on that, the first 3 games, he didn't have over 30 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns. He came in for an injured Penny, I believe.
Rashad Penny.
Yeah, and his first, coming out game, he had 8 rushes for 88 yards and a touchdown. And ever since then, he's pretty much been on a tear. He had 97 yards and a touchdown, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 51 yards and 1 touchdown against the Giants, but he had 18 carries, steady. 50 yards is all right. Touchdown's good, though. And then he had 109 yards and 2 touchdowns this last previous week.
I think it's receiving yards.
Yeah, he would probably. Yeah, he does have receiving yards. Nothing that crazy though. If he had started those first 3 games and been on a similar trajectory, he'd probably be top 10, maybe top 5 in rushing yards, probably number 1 in rushing touchdowns. So Rookie of the Year.
All right.
And the Seahawks are playing really well, and he's kind of with Geno Smith, the cog to that offense.
All right, RJ, who do you got?
I have Kenneth Walker as well, but since Trevor just said all that, I'm going to go ahead and give up my
Say my name.
Breece Hall, who would have been my midterm offensive rookie of the year if he didn't tear his ACL, unfortunately. Because he was averaging 5.8 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. I think he had, like 500, I forgot his yards. But either way, 19 receptions, 218 receiving yards, receiving touchdown. He had 463 yards before he went down. So
yeah, he's having a great year.
He'll be getting comeback player of the year.
And it was unfortunate for him to go down. I also
very dynamic.
Had Kenneth Walker as my offensive rookie of the year. We already broke down the numbers, but he came in he's taken over the last 5 weeks. He's turning out basically 5 yards a carry. He's basically proven to be a 3-down back, and that's something I had questions about with him coming out of Michigan State. I thought he was a home run threat, and I can't remember who I compared him to. It might have been Jamal Charles, but I can't recall. But he comes out. He's had a few games where he's been just really electric. He averaged 11 yards a carry in the Saints game on 8 carries. In the Chargers game, which is his coming out game, he averaged 7.3 on 23 carries with a 74-yard touchdown run. He already has longs of 74 and 69 yards in his short career. Recently, against the Cardinals, 26 carries for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. The combination of him and Geno Smith has been a revelation for the Seahawks. And I think projecting, I believe he's just going to get better as the more carries he gets, and the more he adjusts to the NFL game. And I won't be surprised if he, by the end of the season, finishes top 5, even top 3 in rushing and rushing touchdowns.
Fair.
That was basically a sweep until RJ announced his honorable mention, which is fair. Moving on, defensive rookie of the year.
I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner here. I think he's probably the popular pick. Just to run through some of the stats real quick, he's allowing a passer rating of 44.6. He leads the league in passes deflected with 13.
He has 13 already?
13 mm-hmm. Leads the league. He has 2 interceptions on the year. Throwing a quarterback hit, corners don't always get those. 3 tackles for loss, which I think is probably top 10 as far as corners go. The Jets defense has also been pretty good this year. And if you look at the division they're in, they're going up against Josh Allen, Tua and Miami's offense. Patriots, you can leave them. But, he's came in with high expectations, and I think he's exceeded them. I think he's played a lot better than I thought he would. He's got the stats. He's got the looks, as in physical size.
Got the swag. Got the salt.
Did you see that little?
His name's Sauce. So.
Did you see a little tidbit about? He was talking to some Jets fan, like some kid, and the kid was like, "Every time the Jets win, my dad takes me to get ice cream, and they won a game earlier in the year, and Sauce was walking on the field. He was like, hey, whatever the kid's name is, tell your dad to get you ice cream. 2 scoops.
Nice.
2 scoops.
Yeah, but he's played well. He's a rookie, so he's obviously getting targeted. I don't have the numbers. He's been amount of times he's been targeted this year. But looking like a true shutdown corner.
Fair enough. He's definitely met, if not exceeded, expectations from his lofty potential from the draft. RJ, who'd you got?
Sauce it ball. Sauce going there all day for everything Trevor just said. Plus, one of the most impressive things is in man coverage, he's only allowed 4 catches for 28 yards.
Sauce Island.
It's impressive.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Total is only allowed 20 catches in the year.
The sauce is
189 yards.
Sauce is strong with this one.
7 coverage attempts.
Ain't no dry rub.
Yeah, he's the real deal. Yeah, even what Darrelle Revis was saying, he's got all the stuff to do it.
Confidence, size, quickness, technique.
One of the best corners ever. Yep.
Playing well. I can't disagree with him for Defensive Player of the Year, and he probably is a favorite right now. I went a little bit out of the box with my decision. I picked Kirby Joseph, the Lions' third-round pick out of Illinois. He's their safety. On the year, he has 21 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 4 stops in the run game, 2 interceptions. He's only allowing a passer rating of 48 when he's thrown to. He has one of the higher coverage grades in the entire NFL. I know the Lions' defense has been awful, but he does seem like a bright spot, and I wanted to, think outside the box. My initial reaction was, Sauce Gardner. I try to do my due diligence and dig around, look at every rookie defensive player in all positions, and when I was looking at all that, Kirby Joseph stood out to me, so I went with him for my midseason Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Tariq Woolen would have been a nice
Tariq Woolen's out there too.
4 picks, 8 passes defended, a touchdown, 2 fumble recoveries,
That
1 blocked kick.
That Pat's corner everywhere. Had some momentum
Jones.
for a few weeks too.
Jack Jones.
I think he is the highest coverage grade in the league this year.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Quite impressive.
Picked off Aaron Rodgers. And for the last award for the midseason, Coach of the Year.
I didn't want to be a homer for 2 picks, and I thought there was a few choices here, so I went with Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks. They were kind of wrote off this year, losing Russell Wilson, and were they going to trade DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett throughout the year? I think we predicted that, and I don't think we really had them with a good record in our preseason predictions. But they're sitting pretty at 6-3. Geno Smith has revitalized his career. Comeback Player of the Year. They hit on, it seems like, every single draft pick they had this year, which, Pete Carroll, I'm sure, is a lot to do with those decisions and whatnot.
The Seahawks have a history of doing that, having really good draft classes.
Yeah. So, overall, just from a prediction standpoint and not having high expectations for the Seahawks, his leadership and coaching ability, the players play, and they're obviously getting a lot of good from their players, rookies and veterans, and, starts with the head coach.
Fair assessment. I did take away points for him throwing shade at ex-players, but
I give him points.
But other than that, definitely put some respect on his name. RJ, who you got for your Coach of the Year?
I'm going with Brian Daboll. They're in New York. Your G-Man.
Dab on him.
In the same division, you got Nick Sirianni as well, 8-0, but I think there was a lot less expectations on the Giants compared to the Eagles this year. The Giants were 4-13 last year. They've already beat their win record by 2, sitting pretty 6-2. Looking like they might be a wild card team. They have no O-line, barely any wide receivers, but they drafted well. The team seems to have gotten behind him, and Saquon coming back healthy is also
it seems
a big part of that.
It seems he's completely in a short amount of time changed the culture of that team.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of culture changers, which is why I still kind of like Ron Rivera, even though everybody wants him to be fired.
Yeah, the thing about him too is just he's really utilized and played to Daniel Jones' strengths, which haven't been done before, and obviously Saquon Barkley's having a comeback year, so
yeah, Jones is having one of his highest passer ratings and he's on target to break his rushing totals for the season so far for his career.
Crazy.
Still hate the Giants though. Yes.
Both of you have had admirable choices for your coach of the year, but I'm going with
disappointed Sith Lord,
the one true coach of the year, Mike McDaniel. The Miami Dolphins sit at 6-3 with dealing with injuries to their starting quarterback. If you looked at the Dolphins last year, you would say their offense was the one thing that held them back. But this year they have the 5th-ranked offense. They've scored the 8th amount of points. Mike McDaniel basically took his offensive philosophy straight from that he developed in San Francisco, brought it to the Dolphins. Sure, he added Tyreek Hill to definitely be a shot in the arm for the team, but they're the most electric offense in the league, utilizing 2 speedy wide receivers. I think the run game is going to get a little bit get going a little more moving forward to help them control the clock more. And Tua is just going to get more and more comfortable with the system. It is first year for the entire team with this. So Mike McDaniel is my coach of the year.
Good pick.
He also seems like a pretty funny guy. So
fair choice.
Yeah, Justin
funny
Fields.
Guy.
Stop it, please. All right. So if it's all right with you guys, you want to do a little quick rundown of this week's schedule?
Rapid fire.
Yeah, we can do a little rapid fire here.
All right. Game's underway, but we can still discuss it real quick. Falcons at the Panthers.
I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think they'll be able to control the clock and score enough with their running attack. Patterson's back. I think he scored once or twice last week. Mariota will be able to make enough plays to London and the Pittses of the world.
Yeah, I think I like the Falcons too. I think just make this short and sweet. The Falcons know who they are. They have an identity. They have a head coach that will probably be there for a few more years at least. Panthers are still finding their way, and they're just treading water through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm picking the Falcons too, but unless Foreman has something to say about it, the last time they played, he scored 3 touchdowns.
And they still lost.
Yeah, because DJ Moore wanted to take his
The league did say that wasn't a penalty.
For that same reason, I'm also picking the more mature Atlanta Falcons.
The league did say that shouldn't have been a penalty on DJ Moore because he was walked off the field. Yeah.
Terry McLaurin did it.
All right. Keeping with this speed round. Next game on the schedule, morning game, Seahawks at Buccaneers, even though the game is in Germany, correct?
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Seahawks on this one. Tampa Bay's offense is uninspiring. Their defense hasn't been that great this year. I don't know where I heard it, but apparently I don't know if it was recent or earlier in the year, but Tom Brady said something along the lines of they're having effort issues, which you never want to hear from a Super Bowl contender. The Seahawks are playing well. They've won 4 in a row, and Geno Smith carves up the zone defense, which Tampa Bay likes to run. And his completion percentage is off the charts, and Kenneth Walker should be able to bust off a few runs here.
Yeah, I like the Seahawks. Buccaneers are dealing with injuries. I know Tom Brady pulled out a vintage series with that game winner last week. I don't think the Bucs are able to capitalize on that momentum, and the Seahawks make the long flight home with a win.
Yeah, I gotta agree. This Bucks team is not looking like the same team that won Super Bowl 2 years ago. They got some stuff they got to figure out, and I think Brady's starting to reach that point we were all wondering if he'd ever reach. Old age, Grandpa. Plus,
skin and bone, just bone and skin.
All right, next game on the schedule: the 7-1 Minnesota Vikings go to visit the 6-2 Buffalo Bills.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one. I don't think Josh Allen is going to play, and he'll probably be out a few weeks. And I don't think they're going to win every game with Case Keenum, and they got the Browns and Lions after the Vikings. So Vikings are 7-1. There are a lot of close games, but they're winning. They have enough talent on offense to go up against it, most defenses in the NFL. And Bill's defense is impressive, but I think the Vikings have enough to beat Case Keenum.
Vikings, for better and worse, play to their competition. They're one of the more well-rounded teams in the league. They're 7-1. You got to respect that, and especially with a potentially injured, either no Josh Allen or an injured Josh Allen, I like the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Vikings solely because of the Josh Allen injury. Though, if he was playing, I would take the Bills outright.
Fair enough. The 2-6 Lions are going to visit the 3-6 Chicago Bears.
This one's tough. I'm gonna go with the Bears. They've been showing a little bit the last few weeks. Hasn't turned into wins. But Justin Fields has been really impressive, showcasing his physical talent with the speed and rushing ability, and he's been throwing a little bit better. He just looks overall more comfortable with the way things are being ran in that offense. And the Lions' defense is pretty miserable, except for last week against Aaron Rodgers. But they make every defense look good. And Jamal Williams is injured. I don't know if he's not even listed on the injury report, but I did get an update that said he wasn't at practice today. So, that would be a big hit if he's not out there. And Swift is listed as questionable. I think he's just questionable every week at this point. So
yeah, really
he's the Kyler Murray of running backs. I'm going with the Bears. I think they finally figured out who they are. The Lions' defense is on pace to allow the most points in NFL history, I believe. I think Bears' defense plays just good enough, and Justin Fields with his legs squeezes out a win. So I think the Bears get a slim victory.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, the Bears found their stride, what they are as a team. Justin Fields definitely needs to run the ball. The Lions are just doing typical Lions stuff. It's pretty explosive to start the year, but the season's gone downhill.
All right, the 3-6, the 3-6 Jacksonville Jaguars go on the road to play the 6-2 Chiefs. What do we think?
Chiefs all day. Jaguars have been unimpressive. they lost 5 games in a row before beating a garbage Raiders team that's been a disappointment this year. Jaguars across the board are bottom of the league in rankings, defense and offensively. Chiefs are, so the Chiefs still. Patrick Mahomes will probably carve up the Jaguars after a tough game against Titans.
Yeah, I think it's a closer game than what most would say. I think we might be in for not a duel, but a decent quarterback showing. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are just too much. The Jaguars seemed to be playing really well on both sides of the football at the beginning of the year, but it's just that was like a farce. They're improved, but they're still the Jaguars.
Agreed.
The Browns are going to the Dolphins. I'll just say I think the Browns might pull this one off. Ride Nick Chubb. I think the Browns are getting a little bit healthier on defense. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know why I was looking at this game and I thought it was Cincinnati versus the Dolphins, but similar argument, and even more so of an argument. I think if the Browns roll with Nick Chubb and he gets a big, 150-yard game, control the clock type deal, keep that Dolphins high-scoring offense off the field, they have a chance to pull off the upset. Wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins, but this one could be upset alert.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Not, Brissett and the Browns haven't looked terrible. What they could have with Deshaun Watson, but the Dolphins' offense is pretty tough to stop. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It's a recipe for disaster for any secondary.
Denzel Ward's pretty good.
Fins out. Waddle.
All right, next up, the reeling Texans go on the road to face the New York Giants.
Texans played up to the Eagles last week in the first half. Controlled the clock, or tried to control the clock with Pierce. I don't think they'll be able to have the same success against the Giants. I just have a hunch this is probably going to be a blowout. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a big game.
Yeah, similar to the Texans, the Giants are pretty good at stopping the run. They also want to run the ball a lot. I think the Giants, unless Daniel Jones has like a 3 turnover game, I think the Giants win fairly easily.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants, but I'm hoping it's a harder game than you guys are saying right now.
All right, the Saints at the Steelers.
I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Same.
I wanted to pick the Steelers, but Kenny Pickett's turning the ball over too much. Najee Harris is garbage. He should probably retire.
Whoa. Fantasy.
Yeah, the Steelers' offense just isn't there. Maybe when TJ Watt gets back, he can, give him a little boost. But the offense is just terrible. Saints, aren't much better. But Andy Dalton, he's off and on. He just had a pretty bad game, so maybe he'll be on this game. And I think against the Steelers, you don't need to put any points. So if you're the Saints, you just need Kamara or Taysom Hill to make one special play, and that could be all you need to win this game.
Don't forget about Chris Olave, who is another candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But he's my reason as to why the Saints will probably win.
All right, the Denver Broncos are coming to face the Tennessee Titans.
I'm gonna have to go with the Titans on this one. They just coming off a tough loss to the Chiefs. They should have won. Denver has a good defense, but they just traded Chubb, and their offense is uninspiring. I think Derrick Henry's enough, and I think Tannehill's coming back this week.
He's practicing, so
yeah. Edge to the
it's
Titans.
Two good defenses, but kind of opposite. The Titans are very good at stopping the run. The Broncos are very good at stopping the pass. Well, the Titans don't really care about passing the football. They want to run it with Derrick Henry. I think they'll be able to move the ball. Earlier in the year, this game scared me because of the Titans' poor pass defense, but they're getting healthy. Hopefully, Elijah Molden is back for the first time this year, taking over the slot cornerback role. But the Broncos are struggling to score points, so I'll take the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going with Titans. King Henry's going to roll over that Broncos defense. Russell Wilson, Bronco country. Sit the fuck down.
All right, new head coach Jeff Saturday is going to take the miserable Colts to face the equally disappointing Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders. It's just a tough spot to be in for Jeff Saturday. They're a reeling team. Raiders aren't good either, but the Raiders actually do have a coach that's been there all year, and not that he's that good, but they also have talent, which hasn't really translated, but they should win. If the Raiders don't win, they should fire Josh McDaniels.
I'll just want to say my prediction: Jeff Saturday's first game, Colts beat the Raiders, and Josh McDaniels gets fired.
That'd be awesome. But I'm taking the Raiders because I'm just picking up the better of two bad teams.
All right, the 6-2 Cowboys coming off of their bye go to Lambeau to take on the Packers.
As much as I would love to see the Packers win, I just don't. Apparently, there's rumors that the wide receivers in Green Bay are getting fed up with all the fingers being pointed at them from Aaron Rodgers. And it just seems like they just don't.
He's not wrong, though.
No, I mean, he hasn't played that well either, though. He's turning the ball over. He's getting a lot of passes deflected at the line of scrimmage. The Cowboys' defense is good. They have a good pass rush. They can get gashed on the ground, but I think Aaron Jones has a high ankle sprain. If A.J. Dillon can miraculously have his first huge game of the year and just tire out the Cowboys, and Aaron Rodgers has a really good game, there's a chance, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I want to say, as bad as this season's been, you can't. I think you still can't sleep on Aaron Rodgers, but with the way the season's shaped up so far, the Packers are struggling and dealing with injuries. The Cowboys are playing well, coming off a bye and getting healthy. So I think Cowboys win this. Not much of a contest.
Unfortunately, I have to agree.
All right.
Blah.
The Cardinals are going to LA to take on the Rams. Cardinals have Kyler Murray with a hamstring issue, and apparently Matt Stafford is having concussion symptoms of some sort. Both teams are currently sitting with 3 wins in the NFC West.
Yeah, if Matthew Stafford, I don't know, because Kyler Murray, I don't know. They both suck. I'm going to go with the Rams. They still have Cooper Kupp, and they have more stars. They have Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald still. They're the Super Bowl team. They should be able to win games like this.
Yeah, I think assuming both quarterbacks play, I like the Rams. I think their defense is a little bit better, and you know what? I changed my pick. I'm going with the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner is getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I was just midway through my thought process. I was like, which team has the chance to put up the most points? And I think it's a race to 21, and I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals too. Since D-Hop's been back, I've seen more production from the offense.
All right. Sunday night game. 5-3 Chargers go to San Francisco to take on the 4-4 Niners.
I'm gonna go with the 49ers. Chargers have been banged up. Keenan Allen's still questionable. Mike Williams is out again. They have to lean on Austin Eckler, which is a good person to lean on, but Justin Herbert's kind of had a rough year for his standards. I thought he was going to have an MVP type year. 49ers defense is tough, and they kind of seem to be hitting on the right cylinders with especially with the addition of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, it's just typical Chargers. I don't know why I keep buying into them. There's a cursed franchise. I think Christian McCaffrey definitely gives Niners an edge, and like you said, Chargers are going to try to probably lean on Austin Eckler, but the 49ers have Fred Warner, which is a pretty good balance to him at middle linebacker.
I agree. Niners all day. Unfortunate because I had the Chargers up there, the upper echelon to start the season. Hopefully Deebo Samuel's doing all right too. And McCaffrey, Garoppolo's been playing well enough to win. Defense top tier. Should be a dub.
And then the last game of the week, the Commanders go to Philly to take on the Eagles.
I think it's going to be a tough division game. The spread has the Eagles at -11, which I think is a little bit much. I know we handled them the first game, but I think Heineke's been having the Commanders playing tough. He just figures out a way to keep them in the game. But I think the Eagles will be able to edge this one out.
Yeah, I definitely support Heineke.
Chase Young's coming back too, possibly.
He hasn't said he's coming back.
Oh, okay.
I like Heineke. He leaves it all on the field. I respect that, but the Eagles are the best team in the league for a reason. I think Washington can maybe keep it close in the first half. But when you play the Eagles, keeping it close in the first half, all you end up doing is you're going to just get thumped in the second half, because the key to beating the Eagles is to let them get you in the first half, and then when they let the foot off the gas, you got to strike them.
That's what I've been trending, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Eagles. I think it's be a close one, like Trevor said. I don't think 11.5 is a good spread, but our defense has improved a lot over the last few weeks overall as well. This main part, we see Heineke. All these Commander fans love him. I like him, like his heart, but he ain't got the it factor to keep it every week.
Yeah, he needs to not turn the ball over, and if you guys keep it a close score, anything can happen.
He's got to learn how to throw.
I will say, and I say this, I've been saying this for a long time with the Eagles this season. If I was Washington, and being a Washington fan as you are, RJ, I would lose faith in their coaching staff. They don't do this. Play action and attack the flats is how you beat the Eagles.
Especially with AG.
But that's our quick breakdown of Week 10. Anything else you guys want to discuss before we end the show?
Negative goes right.
That'll do it.
All right, so that does it for the show. We're just continuing through this eventful NFL season. This is No Interference. We're your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our episode. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, share the video. You can follow us on our social medias at the NI Show on Instagram and Twitter. I would say we do a pretty good job of posting some interesting content, whether it be breakdowns on Twitter or some entertaining Instagram reels, thanks to Big Sass. But as usual, Thanks for everyone that supports the show. See you next time. Adios.
See you later.
Peace.